start us off with the source material for this movie.
I was inspired by the short story, but it took me a while to turn it to the script because on paper it's easier to write, but on screen to make a statue walk and make it believable was difficult.
So I understand you thought about making this as a comedy purely first, right?
Yeah, from the beginning it was, and I was writing a black comedy.
Okay. So what made you change and how did that evolve?
While working on it, the material itself was taking its shape and it was kind of indicating me the mood, but I was trying to keep the humor and tonality the way.
What do you see as the themes that were interesting to you in making this?
Themes. I was interested in the characters, how we behave when we are alone, and how we behave when we are in the group, and how we really treat people next to us.
So Lasha, as producer, were you completely behind this idea to make into a movie? Were you always supportive of this? Because they've worked together on 3 films so far.
Yeah, I absolutely believe Tina is an amazing director. So we were actually talking about the idea of making this film since very initial moment when this idea was born. And it was very easy to pitch this project. Being the project, it was very successful. I traveled a lot in Europe on different industry platforms. It was invited for Cannes Film Festival, for La Fabrique, won major awards, being the project, or the film project. And I was really believing that it's possible to make this film. And in some moment after we get financed from Georgian National Film Center, then we received the support from French Film Center, CNC, and the third partner co-production. It's the 3-country co-production between Georgia, France, and Bulgaria. The last part of the co-production was with Bulgarian partners, and we were set up to go. Yeah.
So when you're putting this movie together, are you thinking about things like whether your movie will be seen? I mean, I don't think this movie is anti-religion. I think it's worrying about people and the power they give to their faith and their religion. Is that how you felt?
Yes. So I was trying to observe how much we can blame others in our misfortunes. So some are superstitious, some can blame furniture if you follow Feng Shui, some can blame, I don't know, Mercury retrograde if something goes wrong, or religion. So that's why I don't want it to make it very narrow. And that's why I needed characters with different beliefs. But all of them need hope because they are in the condition when you can believe in everything, anything.
Yeah, it's sort of like the movie seems to me this thing about, it's almost like the reality we imagine is more comforting to us than the reality in front of us that we would have to deal with.
Yeah, another major thing what I wanted to explore is the imaginary world that we are conscious, but still we live in our reality, which is not reality for others. For example, for Berto, the toughness of his life and stage he's in, he can't he has to delete this line between death and life. because it's the only way for him to survive and continue to live.
And that's kind of the life of miners, too. They have to, in a strange way, accept death, but also keep going.
Just saying, maybe we can make it louder, the microphone.
I will try my best.
No, talk about how you wanted to portray miners in this.
So when I started to write, immediately I was thinking where it could be happening and where it could be believable. And it's the place which I visited in my nearly in childhood, and I was so much astonished that it looked like an imaginary place. Because it was operating day and night, 3 shifts, and people, they were using cable cars to reach their working places. And the life they lead means that half day they spend under the ground. They walk with the helmet lights in the streets because there are no street lights. And it's very difficult to astonish these people because these are people without any fear. No, they don't have any claustrophobia, or they are not afraid of darkness. Even when we were shooting, when they took us inside, they showed us the tunnel, working mining tunnel under a kilometer beyond the ground, and they showed me the escape tunnels also, in case it will collapse, where to escape. And then I asked, okay, we will escape, and what will happen next? And they were like, there is a chance that we will find you there. Okay. So, and imagine that it's the way they live, and it's their working condition.
Let me add a bit here, because the production process was quite complicated. So we were shooting on the operating mine, which was active during the shooting. So in one part of the mine, which we were under the land, there were explosions, the tractors were doing stuff, and on another part, we were shooting the film. And we all were wearing same uniform, like the helmets, the boots, and all the equipment which miners need. And there was no difference at all. So you cannot find out where the real miners are working and who is shooting the film. And these mines are very old. They last renovated during the Stalin time. So they are very dangerous, and there are many fatal accidents were happening. So they were like preparing us, guys, if you hear this sound, you have to run.
Okay, so that location, though, I mean, how did it inspire the shots that you got? Because visually, this is an incredible movie, and the cinematographer, Krim Rodriguez, is great. How did you two work together? Did you storyboard first? Were you inspired on the set?
Yeah, it was a great match because I really worried a lot. Because I was intending to shoot with handheld camera, meaning that you can't, so you have to really trust the DP. And it was the guy with whom I never worked, and it was first time we were starting pre-production. And we had only 3 weeks before start of the shooting. But we were spending this time on the set. And these sets were decorated for us by a production designer, with whom I spent maybe 3 years. So production designer's part is huge. For example, the main square, which is built by him, and he knew that I don't want it to have the linear landscape, like horizon. So everything had to have these hills. I wanted to have the ladders, because I don't want it to divide the earth and sky. And I wanted to use the bamboo, because I wanted the sound of wind to be different. So all was made accordingly to the mise-en-scène. Even the tracks, so I love these huge Ural tracks, which production designer knew in advance because there are not much remaining anymore. So yeah.
And then did you always know you wanted to shoot black and white?
Yeah, from the beginning we knew that it has to be very graphical, as 80% of this script was happening in darkness, in tunnels or at night. So to have a color there, it would be like gray, brown, sepia, so I don't wanted that. And yeah, from the beginning that we knew that it would be black and white, and we were choosing the props like helmet lights, because with that we were starting the painting the image. They have flashlights, who was holding what, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, lights are a kind of a metaphor in this, right? The flickering lights, lights on lamps. I mean, I think the movie literally ends with it feels like a light going out, right?
Yes, and there's always a light in the end of the tunnel. And imagine the DP who could manage to make this image with this amount of light. Mm-hmm. And it was huge.
With almost no equipment, because one of the dangers of working in the mine was that there are open wires, electrical wires, on this level.
2 meters high.
Yeah, it's lower than 2 meters, and if you touch it, it's immediately death over there. So you cannot touch this because that's are using for the trains inside. And using usual equipment, lighting equipment in the tunnel, it was very, very complicated. So DP was using all the possible sources of the light to make an image proper.
And how many days did it take to shoot this film?
Very, very short. We made this film in 16 days, and we were shooting in 3 different towns. One is a metallurgical town, where we have this giant from Soviet past remaining on the background, which looks like a mountain, but it's pipes. Then it's Giatura, the mining town, so nothing happens there except mining. And then we found the abandoned place where we made the museum. And the production designer painted the murals, what you see in the film. And we used this place because I wanted to have something from classical paintings like white cloth, and so we created this place.
I want to talk about casting because I think this movie doesn't work unless the actors playing Berto and the Saint are perfect, and they are perfect. So can you talk about casting them? So first thing, what I'm always looking for is the main character, and I found Berto. Berto is very well-known actor in Georgia, but he's a refugee from Abkhazia, which is occupied by Russia, and he lived in the theater for 15 years. He's the actor of the main theater in Tbilisi, and he lives in the makeup room. So when I heard about this, I wanted to meet him first. And then he was telling me that I live with the ghosts of all actors who passed away. And then I was like, now I will move you to live in the tunnel. And I said, I will build this tunnel for you. Yes, and regarding Georgi Babluani, he's also famous, and maybe you remember him from French film 13, Tsameti, by Gela Babluani. And I was looking for the person who would be
native and stranger at the same time. And Georgi was the great match because half life he lived in France and half life he's Georgian. And he has this naive face which can't make anyone angry. So I wanted somebody to be kind. Yeah.
Yeah, so that they sit there and look, yeah, it forces the other actor to go, why aren't you saying anything? And then get angry themselves, right? How do you work with your actors on set? What kind of film set do you like?
Most of other actors, like Mari and her husband Vano, are my lead actors from my previous films. And the old couple also. So most of them are the ones with whom we spent years of working on different films. And I trust these people, and I gave them tasks, like I give them their bad sides, what they have to hide, like Mari. We hear what she prays for in reality, but what she pretends, the same is with Vano. So, yeah.
So how's this movie been received in Georgia?
It was received very well. I was very much afraid of that because some people have this inner censorship, or how to say, they don't trust themselves. But we premiered at Batumi Film Festival. We won Best Film Award there and Audience Award. And since then, it's in cinemas in Georgia. And I only received the very nice comments.
And that the country selected it for the international Oscar.
And then officials also choose it for, it was another risk to see how they will react, and yeah.
I mean, what's interesting is this movie feels like the kind of movie you would have seen from a communist country in the 60s, where the filmmaker had to maybe choose a parable to get a message across without being explicit. Is that something you were thinking about?
Yes, maybe it's already in my blood because I was born in Soviet Union. And it's kind of traditional cinema style that we always have to hide the truth. Because we were always either occupied by Soviets or other empires, and we always had to have this special way of telling stories. So we couldn't say anything openly, and we were kind of mastered to hide it.
Lasha, what's it like to collaborate with Tenat on a movie? I mean, why do you work together so well?
First of all, she's my beloved wife. Yeah.
I set him up for that.
Yeah, and we made together all her films, and I would say that we are like so much on the same page about what kind of films we love and what kind of cinema we want to make, that it's incredible process, because I really enjoy this. And I told you like sometimes ago that it's for us, it's not kind of a job to do, it's a way of life for us. In our family, with our kids, we are like doing everything together, even going for the scouting with the kids.
Yeah, and every time I promise that next film will be happening in summer on the beach. But first film was in the prison, second was in the swamp on the island, and third it was in the mining tunnels.
And one more thing, that for the birthdays, I have wishes from my wife, not like others. She's asking not for the bag or makeup. I don't know. She asked for the trains, planes, or this kind of things to be in the film. Like.
Well, I'd like to offer you guys have a chance to ask a question. So, back in the back there, yeah.
It's for Tinatin. You did say you shot in 16 days, so I'm pretty sure you had a crazy schedule filming. Did you have miracles on one of those days that you're like, this is always going to happen and it happened? And do you believe in miracles?
Yeah, yeah.
Question about miracles.
I believe in miracles, and these miracles followed us. Yeah, even during the shootings, we were like, every day we were praying to our saints to survive us. And in the end, when we had the rare party, the statue of the saint was standing next to us, because it was a great thing that everything ended up well. We were shooting during COVID lockdown. And imagine that a single day was, we were starting shooting the main scenes because we never knew when we would be stopped. So the schedule from the beginning was for 25 days, but it was such a huge risk that the single day I was shooting 5 scenes at least. Yeah, and that's why it was such a rush.
Yeah, so it was dangerous. By that time, it was like just the beginning of the COVID, and there was no any kind of vaccine, or so people were really, really afraid about their lives. And this really was a situation that when we start the shooting day, we didn't know that will it be possible to make a next day shooting because everything can happen.
In the back there.
It seems as though you said that there was a book that this is based on, and is that a book in Georgia, and is it a story that's famous, or is it?
No, it's a very short story. It's 5 pages, and it was pitched by publishers because they want Georgian literature to be adapted to cinema. Yeah. It's a young woman who wrote this short story, and then we started to collaborate on this.
But how old is the story, and is it well known?
No, it's written maybe 10 years ago, and it's we in Georgia we have, it's called Pen Marathon. So writers compete. And it's among these 10 short stories which were participating in that marathon.
So are Georgians more familiar with this and believe in this kind of story? Because it's not one for Americans. I mean, we wouldn't have this kind of thing here.
Right.
Bolivia. They have a lot of mines in Bolivia, very much like the same thing that you are depicting. And the miners are very similar cars and circumstances. The electricity flow, they're very dangerous. But they worship a woman called Pachamama because they're so close to death. And they put a lot of lights and candles and alcohol and food and of course coca. So my question is the same ambience that these miners were. So because they maybe affected the reason of being so close to death. Did you find that same thing among the miners that you work with?
This is about the person who asked the question is from Bolivia. Noticed similarities to Bolivian miners there and the things that they deal with in terms of dealing with death.
Yes, I think all miners in the world are in the same condition because at La Fabrique, you know the director from China, Jia Zhangke, he was our godfather, so-called, and when he read the script, he told me that I have feeling that it's happening in my town in China. And he was like, if you don't shoot this film now, I will shoot it myself. So
That's high praise from one of the great filmmakers of the world. We have one more.
Congratulations. It's a monumental
thank you.
effort you've made in 16 days. It's really incredible. I have 2 questions for you. One is about how you took the actors who are not minors easy or difficult it has been for you to be a female film director in Georgia?
So, first question was about how she got the non-professional, or first-time acting minors to act, and then also about being a female filmmaker in Georgia.
Yeah.
The actors who are not minors.
Actors who are not minors to get. Okay, got it.
So for actors, is we spent the pre-production together with minors, and we had to follow their rules. We were traveling with the same train. We had the same guy leading us, explaining the same way, and we spent quite a lot of time there. And production designers team is acting in the film for the big and difficult mise-en-scène, which is difficult for actors to follow, because they spend a lot of time during pre-production in the mines. And regarding female, in Georgia, in this patriarchal society, there is a special attitude, and I use that. In mines, maybe it will be difficult for men to shoot, but when you are a woman, a lot of things are more allowed, and the men take care of you, and they allow you more than they allow to. And in Georgia, we have this huge tradition that most of directors and filmmakers are female, starting from Soviet times.
More than 70% in Georgia are female directors.
Well, all I can say is I'm glad you're one of them in here and introducing this great movie, which I know that after seeing this, my feeling is better to look this way to people in front of you than to keep looking up for something that may not happen. So,
Yes.
so thank you very much for bringing us here, and thank you all for coming.